Are you
Okay, good evening, everyone. On behalf of the FLENJ board, I would like to welcome you to FLENJ's fourth web chat for educators for the 2017-18 school year. This evening's web chat is entitled World Languages in the Community. My name is Amanda Seawald, and I will be facilitating this evening's web chat. Our web chat series is a new professional development offering to the world language education community. FLENJ's web chats are designed to bring important ideas and conversations to our members through the experts on our board and in our field. Please note that the audio and video of this web chat will be recorded. I'll provide you with details about how you can access that on demand at the end of the web chat. This is scheduled to last for 1 hour with 45 to 50 minutes devoted to the presenters, and the remaining time will serve for Q&A, although we may have you offer questions during the presentation. If you'd like to ask a question of the presenter during the presentation, please use the chat feature in the GoTo web chat control panel on the side of your screen and type in your question. We will organize these questions and share them with the presenters at the end of the presentation or during the presentation. As a registered live participant, you are eligible to receive a certificate of attendance stating that you signed up for and logged into this web chat. Details on how to receive this will be shared at the end of the web chat as well. FLENJ cannot guarantee any professional development credit for this web chat. For those of you watching this on demand at a later date, FLENJ is unable to grant a certificate of attendance. All participants are encouraged to work with their immediate supervisors to determine how best to receive credit for this professional development. In the event of any technical difficulties, please remain connected to the web chat as you are able. FLENJ will contact you directly if the problem cannot be resolved. You may also email us at acwald@flenj.org. But please understand that it is sometimes not possible to check email and run the web chat simultaneously. Thank you for your time and your attention to these messages. And now, please let me take this opportunity to introduce you to our presenters, Alice Simmonson and Jennifer Jones. Alice is a passionate world language educator and certified as a K-12 French, Spanish, and ESL teacher. She currently teaches French at Shore Regional High School and Monmouth University in West Long Branch. In addition to serving on the board of directors for FLENJ, Alice is the co-vice president of the American Association of Teachers of French New Jersey chapter. Alice has taught for community colleges, private industry, and for Concordia language villages in Minnesota. She is a consummate teacher and learner. She credits much of her pursuit for improved world language and culture education to her international study and learning opportunities abroad, most notably the year she spent in Senegal, West Africa, as a Fulbright exchange teacher. Alice is continually working with her school community and professional connections to bring greater awareness and respect for multiculturalism and multilingualism by promoting international exchange opportunities and organizing world language symposiums. You can follow Alice on Twitter at Madame Simonson. That's MMESIMONSON. Jennifer Jones has taught Latin in Franklin Township for 19 years, both at the middle and high school levels. She has served on the FLENJ board for the past 6 years as the liaison for the New Jersey Classical Association and has been newly appointed as the senior awards facilitator. Jennifer has served on the NJCA board for 10 years in various capacities and serves as an advisor for the New Jersey Junior Classical League. She was recently awarded the Magic 98.3 Teacher Who Makes Magic Award. I'd like to welcome both of you. Thank you for joining us tonight and providing us with this wonderful opportunity to learn, and I'm looking forward to learning along with you.
Thanks so much, Amanda.
Thank you.
Excellent.
So there we are.
There you are. Look at you. It's wonderful. So maybe you guys can start by telling us, why is this topic of going beyond the classroom so important to both of you? Alice, we'll start with you.
Oh, thank you so much. First of all, being the only teacher of French in my school, in my district for that matter, it has really been important for me to get out of my classroom, to let people know I'm here, to let people know that there's another language option available. In addition to that, it has been sort of a necessity, besides just a passion to do these things, to go above and beyond, as we say in our presentation. But besides that, certainly the necessity of wanting to maintain a position and to maintain one's job. It just has become a reality in some districts where you really have to compete, as it were, for students. It is certainly a competition. So a lot of these things that we're mentioning tonight, as much as they come out of my passion for the subject and for languages, it is also fueled, the reality is, by the fact that it is a necessity for me in the position that I hold here.
That makes perfect sense. And Jennifer, I'm sure as a Latin teacher, you have an interesting perspective on this as well.
Yeah, I agree with Alice. It's about survival. People don't necessarily automatically understand why one should take Latin, and so they need to have more of a reason, and publicity helps.
Great, thank you.
I thought we'd start a little bit tonight, Amanda, by talking about just really the ACTFL World Readiness Standards and focus in certainly on the communities piece in the 5 Cs and how that just really spells out for us, literally, interact and collaborate in the community and the globalized world. So that in and of itself explains just going beyond the classroom.
Which is such an essential piece of what we do. And in order, I'm sure you agree, both of you, that going beyond the classroom is really how we get our students to understand what the purpose of language study is.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I'm so glad that this is here. I love the organization of this, the 5 Cs and the visual. It really spells it out. And even this quote underneath that with languages, we really are anywhere and everywhere. And as you say, it is the heart of what we do.
If people want to know why we do all these things and they say, does it really fit into the standards? It's right there with the word community.
Absolutely. Well, Alice, this poem is beautiful. It really is. But is there a particular reason why you decided to include this in what you're talking about this evening?
We like the artistry of it. We think that teaching, as much as it is following the science of the standards and the data that we get, at the end of the day, it is a poem. It is an artwork, what we do as teachers, as educators. But at the bottom of it all, we don't just do anything. We do just go above and beyond. And that's what we feel that we do in this job. It can take a lot out of us at the end of the day. Here we are at 7 in the evening and still going strong. But that's because we don't just. We go above and, again, the idea of beyond.
Excellent.
Jen, do you want to talk? Oh, I'm sorry.
We're going to approach this with 3 different modes inside the schoolhouse: virtual approach and in the community.
And can you tell us, Jennifer, why did you select these 3 areas and how did you determine these 3 areas?
We sat down together, and as French and Latin teachers, we're not Spanish, so we're not an automatic language that people think of. And we started to just talk about all different things that we do, and then we started to realize they fell into 3 different categories of promotion.
Well, that's great, and looking forward to hearing about them.
I added these quotes, particularly I enjoyed the one I did in doing research for this. We found a wonderful resource, the Vanderbilt University Center for Teaching. It's cited later in our DGO resources list multiple times, but I really enjoyed this piece about having certainly student-centered, but how much more the learning becomes student-centered when we move outside of the classroom and into the world at large, whether it's still within our schoolhouses, or whether it's virtually, or whether it is literally out there beyond our schoolhouses. So we thought those would be appropriate to include. So starting with inside the schoolhouse. Our first piece is a bit obvious, I feel, but we wanted to include certainly if you don't have a club going, start one now, because it really generates so much wonderful passion and energy, and practices and products of your language can really be conveyed even so much more in a club activity environment where maybe you have a little bit more fun, it's a little bit more relaxed than perhaps your regular classroom functioning would be.
Actually, I wanted to ask you if either of you have a global citizenship club in your schools, because I've been working with lots of teachers around the country lately and have gotten a lot of feedback that these clubs don't exist in most schools. And I certainly think that we as language teachers are most well equipped to provide that for schools.
Jen, how about you?
I'm sorry, Amanda, can you please repeat your question?
Sure. I've been talking to teachers around the country about global citizenship and with regard to are there global citizenship clubs in their schools? And I often get the response that there are not. While I think that this would be a great role for language educators to play in schools. And I wondered if either of you have seen any of that in your schools.
They're starting to become much more globally aware now. Especially with everything that's going on. We're starting to have students actively writing letters and proponents for Amnesty International and things of that nature, starting to be aware of troubles that others are going through throughout the world.
That's really good that there's that passion there at your school, Jen. At my school, actually, recently we've become an I-20 school, which means that we've been having some students come on F1 and J1 visas to our school from various countries. And as a result of that, we have instituted an international program which supports all things global.
Wow.
In fact, I am the person in charge of that. So It does fit well, Amanda, as you say, in our domain as language educators, it fits in perfectly, I think.
Excellent. It's great to hear that that's going on.
Jen, do you want to talk about the Language Club Honor Societies?
Sure. In our honor society, we have the traditional call up, light some candles, but we also have skits, poetry presentations, the skits in the target language. They do singing. We do a little some dancing. We may show. Our French teacher showed a little bit of a movie in addition to the dancing. So we try to make it a cultural event so the parents aren't just seeing their child, get a certificate and shake hands. And of course, afterwards, there's always food in the cafeteria of all different cultures, and everyone can congratulate each other and their children.
Another event that is helpful, and this also feeds off of your question earlier, Amanda, about sort of a global awareness sort of organization. This happened in my school in 2015. The special thing about it is we had the featured presenters were former students. We had 8 in person and about 12 virtually from places all over the world. And it was a discussion from jobs to language to what was the best thing you've done so far in your life. It was just such a rich experience. We invited all students in every language was able to attend. Unfortunately, we wanted to get the whole school involved, but it didn't work out logistically. But if anyone is interested in creating an event like this, it's a lot of work, but I recommend it because it really gets the word out. I think we're going to probably have a new one next year, so it'll be a sort of a 5-year event because it does take a lot of work to put it together. But it feeds your school, and it feeds certainly the ideals that we're trying to get across as we're language educators.
I think this looks like a fantastic event. Alice, can you tell me a little bit about it? It looks like a great event. How was it received by the audience, and who was in the audience?
Okay, well, so the audience was students that were current language students at the time. And actually, I forgot to mention, we did include the 8th graders. So these are the students that would be considering coming to our school and then considering what languages to take. We wanted to give them a framework for perhaps, lighting that fire, as it were, for what languages to take, or even really to take languages and multiple languages. We think it was super well received. To be able to put something together and have some recent graduates and graduates that have been gone now for 15 years. It was just such an inspiration for all these students, I think, because I think they were able to just put their faces on these people and say, wow, that could be me one day.
It's just a fantastic idea, and I think that it would be so helpful to know more about what are the first steps that you took in order to set something like that up. Did it require collaboration across different areas of instruction?
Oh, yes, it did, because it's so interesting to see what teachers have contact still with students that had been there before. You know, I have sort of my niche of kids that have stayed with me with various social media outlets that I follow and keep in touch with people. But so first I had to reach out to my colleagues, and then we really reached out. We have a social media coordinator or a media coordinator here at school who created a database of emails. So we reached out through those emails, also with Facebook, anyone, you know, previous Shore Regional graduates. Are you working abroad? Do you have a cross-cultural thing you want to share? It really just was a big shout out, and people started to share it with other people that they knew, and it really built. And we could have had more people, but at a certain point, I just couldn't accommodate them on the stage or virtually. So it was just an adventure. I hope to do it again, but as you say, yes, it was an endeavor.
Yeah, absolutely. But it certainly seems like it paid off.
It did. Thank you. Jen, do you want to talk about promoting World and Target Language Weeks?
Well, we have each language has its own individual time. You know, Hispanic month. It's French month, correct, Alice? Isn't it all of November?
Well, yeah, you can make it that. That's like my birthday month. It's all month, you know. But it is traditionally a week, yes.
And then, of course, there's Classical Week in April. I'm not sure about the other languages, but when it's your week, we often have announcements each day about significant people in the target culture. We have in the target language as well, so honoring people from history and honoring the language. We have displays all throughout the school. Sometimes the cafeteria works with us and will offer a particular menu item. How about you, Alice?
Yeah, we have announcements this year. We added in a bake sale. I think I mentioned that a little bit later. Of various French pastries. It was going to be all days of the week, but it just got too insane for me and my members of the club to do it. So we switched it to 3 of the 5 days. But yeah, announcements. We do a trivia contest. I label. The kids go around and label everything in French in the schoolhouse. So it does certainly bring French, not just French culture out into the hallways, but really the language. And it's interesting to see people pointing to it and try to pronounce some of the French words, the kids that don't know about French pronunciation rules. It's not easy.
Right.
It also does bring up for me that you know, this month is World Language Month, National Foreign Language Month. So it's also another opportunity to bring ideas together.
Absolutely. You want to talk about the signs, since you have yours right up here, Jen? I love that one. It's so bright and colorful.
Tune in to your parents. You know, a parent made that for me. Pretty much everything I have was made for me by parents. The parents have a wealth of talent that I don't have, and they bring all that to the table. And when you ask them, they do all sorts of wonderful things for you. Promotion. We have Alice's T-shirts there, banners. The students decorated my car every year for National Latin Week. And, you know, everyone asks me everywhere I go at soccer games and things, oh, what's JCL? What's Latin? And then that gives me an opportunity to talk about it. And they are always surprised not knowing that Franklin High School has Latin. And so it gives more promotion.
That's great. I love that they decorate your car. I need to do that. Does it come off?
Yeah, you have to make sure they use proper materials.
We talked about the importance of certainly offering opportunities for our students to participate in competitions or exams. And these are some pictures of our students at the William Patterson Poetry Contest that they have every year. That's a wonderful event. You had a winner too, right there, didn't you, Jen?
Yeah, last year was our first year. I didn't know about it earlier, and yeah, we had 3 winners last year, which was wonderful.
Great. We had a winner as well. I didn't have a picture of him. I just had the whole group. What other tests have you given, Jen?
For Latin, we just gave the Medusa Myth exam, and we had a few winners on that. The National Etymology exam. We do the National Latin exam. We do the Latin vocabulary exam. As many exams as you can do. The civilization exam. Get the word out, get the wins out, tweet it, put it up on every social media, and then parents are excited and want their children to win too.
That's great. That's so impressive. We just had the Seal of Biliteracy test here at Shore Regional for the first time. I put the tweet up there. 43 kids participated. We're getting the results back. A lot of kids, it's very interesting. A lot of them are oh so close in just one domain. They missed it. So it's an interesting diagnostic tool for us now as educators to look at where they fell short, where we felt short as teachers, where are we not giving them enough practice. So it's been an interesting journey, and I look forward to seeing where it will take us.
Well, I think that these are wonderful ways to encourage students in the school to value language learning. And I'm interested in hearing more about how you connect this to culture as well.
Yeah, it's been really interesting with the poetry contest. It's been so fun watching. I've had some native students compete in the native. I had a young lady from China here, one of the students on an F1 visa, and it was so amazing to watch her work as she was reciting her Chinese poetry with such a focus and calm that I was hoping would, sort of come off onto some of my other students who maybe didn't have that habit of having to memorize so much and do the recitations. So that was an interesting cultural piece that I thought she communicated to my students. Actually, she's in that picture that I have here. I don't know. Yeah, that's her right there, Man Wei. Great young lady.
They have to know what the poet's trying to say, and communicate while they read it, so that it brings in the culture as they start to think about who Virgil is, why is Virgil saying this, or why is Catullus saying this in a poem. So they start asking about the culture in the background.
Absolutely. These are some events that I put in, not directly related with my language class per se, but more so related, Amanda, with that international, more global club that I have here, where I have student-driven presentations where they get to present on their culture. And they present what their school looks like, how their school day would go, what their home looked like, their family. So they really get a chance to showcase themselves. So if in their year, maybe they haven't had a chance to share all of that, it's their platform at my school. We just started this last year, and it's continuing on this year. And it usually culminated with some sort of something to eat, of course, is always nice and yummy for everyone. And this is continuing, and it's really, you can see by the number of kids attending to support their friends and to learn and ask great questions. So this is inspiring a lot of kids now to travel abroad. We are now collaborating with CIEE to help our students find different summer programs abroad. And I believe that bringing these student presentations to light and allowing them a platform within our school, it has really planted some seeds for these kids to now want to, hey, I want to go there. I want to experience a little bit of what they're talking about. So that has been.
Was this after school?
These are, yes, they're after school. We have in my school what is called an academic study period. It's about 20 minutes at the end of the day. And I usually start it then, and they continue on oftentimes, but at least I get a good number of kids because they are still here. They're not yet at sports or all of their other myriad of after school activities.
Right.
So it works well with our school schedule. Jen, do you want to talk about these? Because these are great pictures. I love them.
This is our wax museum. So the students pick a historical figure such as Mark Antony, and then they have little buttons. I don't know if you can see the button on their hands. And then people from the school, administration, parents came in from the community. Other people, teachers brought their classes, and they would press their button, and the students would turn on and explain all about who they were. That's the majority of the pictures. In the top right there, we got a grant from the Classical Association of Atlantic States to have these reenactors reenact a Roman legion for us and demonstrate and let the students try on authentic shields and swords, etc.
This is such a wonderful idea, Jennifer. I think it's such a creative way to motivate students to get involved, especially with Latin, and trying to get the students to really bring the language and the experience to life. What a unique and creative way to do this.
I love it. I wish I was there. Jen, how about these? You have some kids doing some collaborative events with other organizations. Do you want to talk about that?
Sure. Not only do we want to foster community with each of our individual languages so that the students are comfortable, in their Latin groups or their French groups, but we also want to foster a sense of community among the entire world language department of each school. So we have get-togethers with the other languages, go bowling, play at Sky Zone, kickball, laser tag, etc. Ice skating we just did the other night. Things that we all do together on a Friday night or after school, and it brings us together as a world language community in the building.
Nice.
How about you, Alice? What do you have over there?
This next, I was just going to flip to the next slide where two of the things that we do are when we can, we have international potlucks, especially for hosting international student groups. And we host any cultural events we can get our hands on. This was in collaboration with AATF New Jersey. We had a concert here at my school of Canadian two-time Grammy-winning Le Vent du Nord. It was just a great event. Moving forward, I just want to be sure we're moving here at a correct speed. Certainly, fundraising is a great way to get yourselves out there. I had these pictures of my international club selling egg rolls and my French club selling French pastries. Always yummy. Jen, you do this too. You want to talk about this quickly?
Sure. We go and sing from class to class during the holidays, songs in Latin, and they're always pulling us in from the hallway, like, come to our class, etc. And it helps promote everything. The students bring out their phones and it goes viral, and that helps in the promotion.
Great. Oh, talk about this because this looks wonderful, your chariot race.
This is at our school on our football turf, which takes a lot of convincing with the athletic department to let such things happen on precious turf. But the students have to make a chariot. They are not allowed to use a already formed device such as a wheelchair, and they have to create everything by hand. And there is a person inside of each chariot crouching down and wearing a helmet. And then hopefully everything is okay. And every year it is somehow.
That's wonderful. This is literally just going outside of the classroom. In the middle here, I took my French 1 students out to one of our gymnasiums, and I borrowed the space. The gym teacher was so kind to move her class to the other half of the gym. And we did this fast and furious number game. And it really just got us out there. Other students were wondering, why is the French class in the gym? Just raising curiosity, and it was much better space for activity. Even something like going outside and doing a nature hunt for working the target language, but getting outside into nature and or having picnics are just great things to do beyond the classroom in your schoolhouse. Now let's move on to our virtual approaches for reaching beyond the classroom. Here are the top 10 reasons that we found. Basically, it's very positive. It's going to save you time. Let me tell you, you can reach diverse populations. You're going to recognize students and staff with kudos to them. Students are going to feel appreciated and honored and like the star. You'll be able to get students where they are as far as reaching them. They're all on their social media all the time. It's a place where we as educators get to make a change in the conversation. It's not just what people are saying about our school, but we get to say what's happening about our school.
Wow, Alice, that really rings true for me. That idea of us being able to kind of control the narrative a little bit about what's going on in our classrooms, rather than people either thinking about what's going on or what's going on in our schools without us being able to really speak up about it. I think that's a perfect reason for using social media and really getting the students involved in that way. That's great.
Yeah, it just really is. And just this is how people are getting information out these days. This is what to do. Another reason I really like it is because, wow, I can't believe everything I've done. It keeps my record keeping. It's done for me. It is an ongoing. I used to keep a yearbook, and now it's done because it is the timeline of all entries that I make. So it is just a wonderful way of keeping track. We put a list here of some of the approaches that we use, and they're just really links at this time. Certainly, you can have a Facebook page. This is just a link to my French at Shore Regional Facebook page, where I post anything from the presentation I did yesterday for my colleagues to the luncheon that we had for senior citizens, to something that happened in class the other day, or things that are going to happen at our French club. It's really just a great way to communicate, get it out there. Same thing, Instagram I use as well, but Instagram is more on the student level because I don't see that much professionally, but the kids really respond to my Instagram, to their pictures. I tried Snapchat, but was not really good at it. Twitter is another super great resource. Oh, look, there we are. So I have multiple Twitter pages depending on what's going on, and certainly your web pages. Jen, you have your web page here. You want to talk about that?
Oh, okay. Yeah. So for JCL, JCL is the Junior Classical League. It's the national Latin club, if you will, and they have various competitions. So this is built by my student. They have web page competitions throughout the year. They have social media competitions, and so I assign students to run each of these contests. And so right now, this is what my student Simran has created so far. And,
oh, it looks great. Oh, I saw you down there. Look, there you are, Jen.
At the prom.
And then certainly you were talking about students following professional groups. So you have your students follow this, Jen?
Yes, so this is the National Junior Classical League website. And this is all of us, this top picture in Alabama this past summer. So we gather at a different university and talk about promotion for the kids to see all these other people in togas and to experience everything, speaking with these other people from across the country and loving the same interests and speaking in Latin is a phenomenal experience for them.
It seems like a really great idea to get students involved with larger professional type organizations, and also encourage them to understand what a professional organization is and why it could be important to them down the road.
Right.
I agree, Amanda. I think it is important that they use their social media not just to follow their friends, but to follow things that are going to change their future, not just what's going to change their after school today.
Yeah, Alice, I did have a question for you about the use of social media. Do you ever allow the students to do, like, for example, you mentioned Snapchat, and you said that Snapchat is like hard for you, but it's like the students are great at that. So I wonder if you ever allow the students to have, I know my daughter refers to it as like a takeover of this Snapchat story or something like that. And are there any issues with posting any of the information from the students from the school legally?
That's an interesting point, and that actually was part of the reason why Snapchat wasn't as great for me, because I was finding that and I'm not allowed to follow in our school policy. I can have these social medias, but as long as I am not following any of my students. They can follow me, my professional sites, but I am not allowed to follow them. So it was my understanding when I was playing around with Snapchat, I might be wrong, it might have changed, but it was my understanding that they cannot just follow me carte blanche without me actually following them. And that would then affect my school's policy for technology. So that sort of was a glitch for me.
Okay. It's definitely good to think about these things as we're planning, right?
It is, especially when you're doing the virtual promotion. Absolutely. One of the fun things I've liked to do is challenge students to change their technology to the target language. I even try and challenge myself. Sometimes, you know, even the 24-hour clock kind of thing will be a challenge, but yet it is a great way to really live in the language. So I have done the technology challenge for students. Another piece of technology that I have been testing around here at Shore is Language Perfect competition, which you can get 50 free memberships. I'm not advertising for it, but it's really kind of cool. It comes out of Australia, I believe. And in the May, they have a language competition. And students, it's just how many lessons does your school complete? So it's really a challenge to get the students just working frenetically with language. It's a lot of schools in Europe and in Asia, but little by little it's coming here to the United States. So if anyone's interested in that, that's another way to get your language out there virtually, and they do a great job with promoting the winners, etc.
Good idea.
And then certainly ePals, virtual field trips with Google Earth, and all sorts of other options there will get you virtually out of your classroom. Classroom virtual hangouts and Skype. And certainly this week, this month, you were talking about, Amanda, it's language, promotion, Lead with Languages Advocacy Month. So this is a way to get your language out there, get languages in general out there. If you haven't already, I have to set up my picture. They're asking language educators what they do with their language and how they lead with languages, and to post that on their social media sites. Anything else you wanted to say about the virtual approaches, Jen?
Just the Google Earth that you mentioned is phenomenal for me, because I can't, when I bring them to see ancient ruins in Europe, it's phenomenal for them. But to see it as it really was, that's what Google Earth is amazing for, that we can walk into the ancient structures as if they were still standing.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so it's really great.
We did this we're going to be going to France in November for our first ever board sanctioned exchange return trip. So we've hosted from France, but we've never gone. So we did this to sort of look at the school where we will be going, and to sort of get everyone excited. So it wasn't as exciting as the old Roman ruins, but it was pretty cool too.
Yeah.
So now our third portion of our modes, really, of getting out there beyond the classroom is now in the community. Jen, do you want to talk quickly about the 10 reasons that getting out in the community is going to benefit our students?
For me, number 8 is huge. They have, in the classroom, we have a wonderful relationship, but I don't get to know them as well as I do with all of these extra activities. And that is where I find my college recommendations come from, or all of these activities that we do together. I really get to know the person, and we can relax so much more on these adventures than we can in the actual classroom.
I agree, Jen. I also think for me that a lot of times we get so caught up in, the academic piece of all this, which is great, and also the other stuff that we're doing after school, that we forget the social consequences and the citizenship that we need to, push forward and advocate for our students. I think they forget because they're so busy. We forget because we're also really busy. But when we start moving out of the classroom, you get to really hone in on helping people with something that you love, which is your language. So I think you're right. I like 8 and 6. I think they're all great, but I guess our first one that came to mind for me was certainly, as I mentioned before, hosting various homestay exchanges. We've had our 4th one this year with Spain, France, Italy, and then France again, and we're going to keep going with these. We're actually trying to establish sister schools. We have one now with France, Sainte-Geneviève. That will be our sister school that we'll be doing exchanges with. We're going to be working on finding an Italian school, and then also a Spanish school moving forward. So if you know anybody.
You know, Alice, that really, the sister school model is so important, and I feel that a lot of schools have gotten away from that, and it's such an important model. Can you say a little bit more about how you established that?
Yeah, thank you. I think the idea was for students, but also for administrators to be able to say, listen, this is what we do. Every 3rd year is going to sort of be our model, we think, since we have 3 living languages to visit these cultures and countries. So the idea then would be to have a rotating basis, but it was to be able to say, listen, we know these administrators. I know the people. You know, we're going to be able to go there. That's where we're going. It's not a new place. It's not something new each time. It gives the parents, the board, myself, like sort of a home base. And that really brought it home. And in fact, the French embassy makes it very official. We got a document the other day from the Ambassade de France aux États-Unis stating that we are now officially twinned or an appareillement with Institution Sainte-Geneviève. So it's very exciting to have that. I agree. It is a very good model.
It's a great model, and from an advocacy standpoint, having a model like that in place, and it solidifies the programs. It also encourages more students to want to take those languages because there are opportunities that otherwise they would not have. And I think that it's just such a great model. I hope that other schools will consider looking into sister schools.
Oh, awesome. Thank you. This is something that we have been doing for a couple years. I tweaked it from an assignment that I would do every year in my 2nd year French novice, mid-novice high class when we did a unit on French foods, Francophone foods. Traditionally in the past, maybe my first 15 years of teaching, the kids would cook. They would cook their recipe. They'd make a cooking video, and they'd bring in their food, and we'd all eat it in class. But inevitably, I ate it all. I'd feel horrible at the end of the day. There would be a mess in my classroom. And really, it was nice, but only a little nice because we could only eat it a little bit. So to save my waistline and really also to do something better with this, finally, I made this connection in our town. We have 2 sort of senior citizen residences. And so now every year, instead of feeding ourselves, we feed these residents in these 2 senior citizen homes, and it has changed the whole focus, and it's just been an amazing transformation of this project. Changed the level of concern, and even some of my doubting Thomases here came back from the trip saying, "Madame, that was really a feel-good trip," you know, because they really don't have, if they're busy with their lives, they don't have the chance to really go out and do something for someone else. And this was something, you know, product and practice of French language and French cultures, and then sharing it with others. It's a great thing, and it doesn't take a lot to do. It's probably something you're already doing, but just tweak it a little bit. I highly recommend something like this. Jen, you want to talk about what you do in the community for these 2 items?
Sure. Every year go to the Ronald McDonald House, and we cook for them, and we also decorate their living room for whatever season we're there for. The students love to cook. They love to see the residents and see their appreciation. And at the end of a day that their children are in the hospital, they come home for dinner, and there's the students with meals ready for them, and they're very appreciative. Helping at the local food bank, not necessarily target cultural activity, but again, you know, we encourage the Latin Club to get out there in the community and help others that are less fortunate than them.
And I see everyone's wearing their T-shirts.
Of course.
How about this, Jen? Because these are great pictures that you shared.
Right, and here they are reading on the far right mythological books to the students, and then in between they're also teaching them some Latin words and numbers. And on the far left, they are at a local retirement home, also teaching them Latin, and then just having social time with them as well. Some of the residents are quite fond of their Latin that they learned years ago.
How about this? Because this is another great virtual connection going beyond.
This was our last year. We hosted the JCL has their state conventions at different high schools each year, and last year we hosted. So there we are, greeting people on the far left, and on the right. We decided, well, while we're at it, why don't we contact the NJEA channel, the Classroom Close-Up, and they came to do a video of the whole experience.
That's great coverage that you got there. It really is.
Wonderful, Jen. And also, I just want to add that it's just the exact type of thing that we try to do in order to draw attention to and advocate for world language learning. It is really the best avenue we have. Getting involved with the media, bringing in opportunities for press releases and for the press to even do stories. It is truly the best type of advocacy we can do, aside from teaching so well in our own classroom. So great job on that.
It really is. You talked about having your groups, your students, Jen, go in and teach to the elderly and also to the younger kids. We have started this project. It's maybe about 4 or 5 years in existence. We call it the Bilingual Books Project. And it is just that in all of our languages, Latin, French, Spanish, and Italian, the students in our level 3 language classes will create bilingual books, but they're not just any bilingual book. They are based on a student survey that goes out to all the second graders in our district. So they fill out their favorite character, their favorite color, their favorite food, etc. And then our language students base their story on the information that they get on that child. So they're personalized. They feature the target language in large text. English is there, but it is smaller. So, and then after they're written as usually a portion of their midterm exam. We go in March because that is Read Across America time, and we then go down and visit our sending districts. We go into the second grade classrooms and they chat. You can see them on the floor there. They read the story, they talk about it, and then the students do a share pair read. They tell what they understood. They talk about some words that they recognize, maybe connecting the language, the foreign language to English. And then the kids get to keep the book. They have a little snack and they keep the book. It's been a great initiative for literacy and certainly bilingual literacy in our district. So I highly recommend starting something like this.
How did you bind the books?
Well, it could be creative as a student would like, putting a hole and doing ribbon or yarn. But we did go ahead and our department bought just a not very inexpensive $200 spiralized binder, and we use cardstock for the books. So that's another way to do it. But I like it when students sort of create their own way to put it together. That's fun too. But we supply that if they'd like it.
How
about this, Jen?
I love the way that you're using, wanted to say, I love the way that you're using the younger students as the older students to encourage younger students to think about language, whether or not that's going on in their classrooms. It's really because we have so many challenges to creating broad FLES programs as well, foreign language in the elementary school programs, that anytime we can take our high school students and encourage younger students to learn language, it's a great time.
Yeah, it really has been. And even in the write-up, I had to be sure. At first, when I was writing it up, I said, to expose kids to language other than English. And I had to change that. It's further exposed, because I think sometimes I'm a little naive and think, no one's learning it. But sometimes they are. And we have a lot of students that are not, that are speaking other languages firsthand. So it brings a really nice richness to these youngsters. And what's going to be really fun is, since we started it 5 years ago, it's going to be pretty soon that these second graders are going to be reaching the high school, and it would be interesting to see if they remember their books and if they still have them, and if that impacted at all their decision for what language they would teach, or they would study rather. Jen, do you want to talk about this? You mentioned it a little bit earlier in that other piece, but.
Right. So I don't really need to talk about the left. The far right is colleges. Montclair has a classics day where they have the professors invite us, and they immerse us, and it's wonderful for the students to see, again, other students from other schools studying Latin, and there's one in the South as well. I'm not sure which college it's at. It changes each year, but Montclair is certainly a regular.
Nice. I think we're ready to open it up for, oh, nope, sorry, I skipped this last one. The last one, of course, is field trips, getting out there in whichever way you can, whatever institutions of art or music, theater, dance that you want to take your students to that are related to the products and practices of your target language is just amazing.
These are certainly some really incredible community initiatives. Do you have a favorite so far that you've done, either of you?
I think I'd say that my two top favorites are the luncheon that we provide to our senior citizens, the French Francophone themed luncheon, and then also the bilingual books. I'd say those two, the connection that I see, certainly with the language piece on the first level, but on the second level, the connection that happens between the students and the elderly, and then the students with the younger students. To me, that connection speaks volumes.
And what about you, Jennifer?
I would say the state and national JCL conventions are something we look forward to all year. And I also enjoy very much the historical wax museum.
These are just wonderful. Every single one of them sounds exciting to me, and I'd love to attend them. We do have a question here about the concept of community and the idea of are students in your groups or in these events, are they able, I know a lot of schools have community service hours. Are they able to use any of this for community service hours, or do you encourage that, or the opposite?
That's an interesting point, Amanda, because I've had some other colleagues ask, well, can you really count it as community service if it is on school time? So if they're already in class and if it's part of a curricula for classes, can it count? And I think so far we have let it count as far as places that are looking for honor societies and such that are looking for a certain number of hours. But yeah, it is a question that has been brought up. We are having it count here so far. It is a debate. I'm not sure the right answer, but I think the bottom line is maybe I am helping them facilitate it, but they are doing the service at the end of the day. So I would support it.
We have people that count service hours for sitting at a table, for various functions, and I find that to be less, involved than these things that they're doing when they're getting hands-on and dirty. They're getting their hands dirty. It's so much more active. The students are terrified to talk to the old people or talk to the young children, and such a stepping out of the box for them that it's quite a fantastic achievement, and I love signing off on hours for them.
Yeah, it's wonderful. And we do have another question here regarding what are I know both of you teach at the high school level, but have you seen any other, or do you have any other favorite community activities for younger FLES students in addition to the books that you do?
We like going down there and having them make little mosaics, ancient Roman mosaics out of glass, sometimes glass, or anything could be little buttons, etc. Can be a mosaic, or we have them make Roman roads out of chocolate and different other candies, and talk about the layers of Roman roads and the Romans as architectural geniuses.
And I have to say, from my knowledge of elementary social studies, that actually works in very well with a lot of what's going on with these studies of ancient Rome and ancient Greece, which are very much an integral part of elementary social studies. So what an opportunity for the students to really bring some things to life and see how they can take their learning even further. I like that idea. So another question is whether the slides will be available afterwards. Did you want to address that at all?
Sure. The slides will be available, I think, on our website, our FLENJ website. We also added here, if you want to find any resources, we have quite a list of resources on our DIGO outliner. You can find at this URL here, because a lot of them go above and beyond some just generic. A lot of these things that we're focusing on our world languages with can actually just be really tweaked in any class, really. History class, maybe something in your mathematics class could fit in, tessera or something when you're talking about mosaics. But there's just lists and lists of various options for community endeavors that if you find something that sounds good to you, take it and run with it, because on this research that we did, there's just a lot of options out there for anyone.
That's great. And we do just have a few more moments. I did want to ask one other question. I've been working with a lot of teachers on incorporating, even at the very elementary level, the AP Global Strands into their learning experiences in language. And I wonder, has either of you had the opportunity to think about all these different aspects of your community projects and how they relate back to the Global Strands?
Oh, wow. Yeah. I think at the end of the day, any seed that we're planting with them in this regard is helping bring back those concepts. I have not had a chance to really sit down and align them, but in my heart and in my gut, I have a feeling that they're going to be right on. We might have to add a few little things. I do try and have reflection piece and writing on that feeling but you know, I might need to align a few things in other places, but I think it's going to be right on.
Yeah, absolutely. I see that it connects just perfectly, and I think that that alignment will also help teachers at different levels see how the AP Global Strands are not only for AP classes. I use them in kindergarten classes. We have another question here about any suggestions for high school students interested in service or volunteer work abroad. Any companies or organizations that you would want to recommend?
Actually, oh, sorry. Go ahead, Jen.
All of them offer these days. The companies are starting to realize that the families don't want to just send them abroad and like they used to, and it's not just a trip that doesn't look as impressive on the college resumes. So all the companies are changing and offering much more experiences to help in Ecuador, etc. I use EF, and in the past 5-6 years, all of a sudden these global service opportunities have come up on the page in addition to the usual travel and go see the Eiffel Tower.
I agree. I'm working this year with CIEE, and I have a couple students headed abroad this summer, a few for some upwards of 50 hours of credit, and also some that are going to not just be getting community service credit, but actual college credit. That's another piece. These students will be doing language and cultural studies, so they're going to be getting 4 college credits from Tulane University.
Nice.
That's fantastic. The only other thing I would share is I actually just came back from an incredible trip in Nicaragua. And I actually had the experience of visiting a place called La Esperanza, which is an after-school program for children in Granada, Nicaragua. What was amazing about it was that they have student volunteers from universities all over the world, including the United States. And I would say that my understanding is they have to be 18 to be able to go. So for some high school students, that might work very well. So just thought I would mention that as well.
Oh, very nice.
We also have Montclair again. They offer archaeology digs in the summer, not necessarily, I suppose that would be service because they need help. And it's also an incredible experience for the teenagers to dig up ancient ruins.
Excellent. Well,
I think that about,
go right ahead.
oh, I was just going to say, I think that about concludes our web chat today. And Jen and I thank you so much for attending.
Well, thank you both for that incredibly informative presentation. As I mentioned at the beginning of the web chat, it has been recorded, and the recording will be made available on request within a few days. Additional details will be sent out to you and to the general FLENJ membership on how it can be accessed online. And for those of you attending as registered live participants, after the web chat, we will send you a proof of attendance in the form of a certificate of completion. Please join us in March for our next webinar that will be specifically on interviewing for world language positions on March 22nd with Frank Ruggiero, our president-elect, and that will be at 7 p.m. Eastern. Feel free to check all of this out on our FLENJ website, www.flenj.org, and you can see that each month we are offering a different topic from one of the experts on our board. We thank you all for joining us tonight and wish you a very wonderful day tomorrow.
Thank you, everyone.